Karen.
Hi, Bridget.
How are you
How
doing?
are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so
Uh,
much for getting on this call with me today.
we appreciate you making the time. Girls, we're talking today with Dr. Bridget Cooper. For some of you, you might remember Bridget attended our Girls' Night Out event at the Nutmeg several years ago, and we had the pleasure of her company. And today we're speaking with her about her book that just published this morning
Just came
called
out.
Pain Rebel.
Yep. So excited.
So we're anxious to hear a little bit about Bridget, since our topic this week has been about favorite reads, writing,
Right.
publishing. So Bridget's going to give us some information on
Absolutely.
her steps in getting this book published.
Absolutely. So yeah, as you know, because you and I have been connected now, I think for like 4 years. I think you and a group of women came to the Greater Hartford Women's Conference where I keynoted, and
Yes.
that's how we first got connected. And at that time, I think I just published my fourth book, fourth book, I think, and Power Play. And since then, I've published two more. Again, most recently, Pain Rebel. So what a lot of people are wondering are like, Dr. B, are you like an author? Oh, well, yeah, apparently I am, because I have written now 6 books as of today, but I've never considered myself an author. So many of us love books. We love reading. This is summertime, so it's a big reading time for people to, hit their, vacation destinations. Although this year might be a little bit different. Their vacation destination might be, their sunroom or, their living room. But people are getting into like summer reads. So many of us love to read, but we're always wondering, like, could I ever write a book? Or like, how did this person get to the point where they started writing books? And I think the most common question, people are like, how did you get there? Like, why would you ever start writing books? Well, for me, like when I stood up in front of you guys and did the keynote at that conference, for me, writing books is just pulling together all of the ideas and thoughts and information that I want people to have, but in an organized, structured format. So I'm not writing fiction, I'm writing nonfiction, I'm writing self-help and leadership and personal development books to help people live, love, and be better. And so each of my books are really delivered in that format of being able to say, okay, so I want to sit down and kind of have like a coffee with you, maybe a 200-page coffee with you, and talk about some of the things and discuss with you and kind of push you to think and consider and introspect on ideas that I think will help you live a better life. So for me, it's always been about answering people's questions in the form of a book. So my first book was Feed the Need, and it was about communication and conflict. And I wrote it because I wanted to check that off my bucket list of having written a book. But every subsequent book, including Pain Rebel, came to be because people came to me with struggles they were having, problems they were facing, and they wanted me to help them solve it. So, I do a lot of coaching and keynotes and strategic planning retreats and team development work with companies and organizations. But my like thrust is to help people live in their personal power. So when people come to me and they're like, help me with this issue, help me solve this problem in my life, I think, oh, I've got a book for that. Or if I don't, I think I have to write a book for that. So my latest book, Pain Rebel, came from that space of wanting to put out some information and guidance that I've been working with coaching clients on for years on how to live and look at pain differently, because we have a broken relationship with pain. We all have it. We all experience some, if not a lot of, over the course of our lives. But how we relate to it, how we process it, how we release it, how we deliver it on to or not other people is really this magic sauce that I wanted to dive into and help people wrestle with. So Pain Rebel means rebelling against our programming about what pain, the role pain needs to have in our lives and how we can relate to it differently. So that's kind of the generation and how we got to Pain Rebel.
Now, with all these books you've written, do you consider yourself an author?
I do. I mean, I clearly am an author, but to me, it's like it's putting together thoughts into an organized group to be able to say, I can pick this up and I can answer a number of questions that I have as a reader about this particular topic. So like when I wrote Feed the Need, I was putting forth a novel understanding of how conflict occurs, how we can communicate and have conflicts in a healthier manner so that we can reach our goals and have productive relationships and all of that. So like I wrote it down, but you and I could have gotten together for a series of hours and had conversations, and that would have been the book. So most people, when they read my books, they notice, and I know you would say the same thing, that it's like we're sitting down, we're having a conversation. I don't write in a way that is strongly academic. Like I'm a doctor, I have a doctorate, I've written academically, but my books aren't academic in that way. They're much more like conversations. So I hear people telling me all the time, when I pick up one of your books, Dr. B, it's like I can hear your voice in my head. So for those of you who don't like my voice, I apologize, but that's what it sounds like, right? So it's in a very conversational tone. And so I put these ideas and these concepts and these books together, but it's not what I do full time. Like it's just this thing that I do on the side to be able to give information to people who have told me that they need it, you know, like they've had conversations and asked me questions, and I'm kind of answering their questions of how to solve these problems, whether it's about pain and Pain Rebel, whether it's about communication conflict and Feed the Need, about the change process and Stuck You, or Power Play, which talks about solving organizational dysfunction, and then my own personal memoir, Little Landslides, which is how you rise up from trauma. So yeah, so I guess I am an author, like legitimately, but it's not how I'd first identify myself. I'd identify myself as a problem solver and a healer. And of course, you know, my tagline is that I'm a cage rattler and a thought shifter and a change strategist. So all of those things kind of come together in the form of a book, or 6 books at this point. So I'm hoping you're gonna get your copy and you'll be able to see what I mean about all of that.
I'm excited to. Yes, I'm excited to read it. So where did the spark come from? Like, where was the inspiration? What prompted you to write Pain Rebel?
So that's a great question. So I wrote Little Landslides, which was my life's work, really, in the sense of it's my story of rising up through trauma. And it has personal stories written in the first person through the eyes of the child that I was, and talking about the lessons that I learned in having that troublesome understatement upbringing. And, you know, I in doing that and pulling that together, I had on my bucket list also to have a TED Talk. So I went and I did a TEDx talk in Newport, Rhode Island in March of 2018. And in pulling that talk together, I realized that Little Landslides opened the door to this work about helping people rise up through trauma and pain. But because it was written mostly as memoir, there was only so much information and support and guidance I could offer in that book. And I knew I needed to have almost its sequel, which was, you know, okay, let's dig in deeply to this broken relationship we have with pain. So I started writing all of that down before the TED Talk, but then the TED Talk took off and I had a lot of speaking gigs and I was doing a lot of work in the public eye. And so I just kept kind of like collecting notes about it and thought, you know, in the fall of 2018, once my kids are back in school and, you know, summer's over, I'll dig in and I'll finish writing it, because I have all these thoughts and all this organization, but it hasn't quite taken the form like of this, right? So unfortunately, and I think you know this, I was in a rollover car accident in August of 2018. So that, like literally, I was hit by a truck. Took me a little bit off course, to say the least, because I suffered a traumatic brain injury during that accident. And the experience that I had in this post-traumatic brain injury head is that reading and writing and processing information is incredibly painful and disruptive. I suffer incredible headaches, visual disturbances, I have hearing issues, and the processing is really painful. So I thought it was kind of the universe's really sick sense of humor where I'm concerned, which was, oh, you're going to finish this book? Not. And oh, by the way, you were writing this book called Pain Rebel. Like I already had the cover created, and now you're going to suffer pain from like a host of places, not only physiological pain, mental pain, and emotional pain of trying to now live in a body and a head that weren't really cooperating with me and that weren't allowing me to do the things that I was known for doing, that I love to do, like speaking and writing and teaching and interacting with people. Like I couldn't, it's hard for me to go into a coffee shop and sit with anyone and talk with anyone for any period of time. Forget about going to like conferences and mixers. I do them, but I suffer for it. So writing Pain Rebel then took on this entirely new experience. So yeah, so that's kind of that there was a spark, and then there was a big dump of water on the spark, and then the spark kind of came back to life. And recently, with this whole COVID-19, pandemic that we've been living through and the social isolation and all of that, I had already made it my mission I was going to finish Pain Rebel. Come hell or high water, I was going to finish it. And then that hit, and I started thinking more and more about the pain that we're all experiencing and how our relationship to it can define that experience. So how I wanted to put this book out to be able to give people a sense of how to master it. So that's the story of Pain Rebel. So Amazon, pick up a copy, hand over a copy, share a copy, because I think it could be really useful for people. So thank you. Yeah, giving me a chance to talk about it.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure it's quite the project to start writing a book. So what does it take from the starting point until the point of completion? What kind of...
Yeah. So, and it depends on what kind of book you're writing and kind of your writing style. And I've coached people through the writing of books. But obviously, first you have to have a passion for the topic. You have to really love what it is that you're doing and love how you're, the message that you're trying to convey. So that's like the first thing is you have to have a powerful why, or it'll be very difficult to get through all of the process and the points of the path. So for me, I had a really, powerful why of wanting to help people live with less pain and live therefore more abundantly and joyfully. So you start with that powerful why, and then you have to figure out, okay, so that's the why, but so what's the message? Like, what is it how are people going to be better for having read this book? So I was very clear. They're going to be better because they're going to live with less pain, less intently. It's going to be just a better life that they're going to live as a result of reading this book. And then it's about what are those messages? What are the core messages? And really developing a very strong outline for the points and the structure and the path that you're because you're taking readers on a journey. So what does that journey look like? You're going to go on a cross-country road trip adventure. You're going to know what your stopping points are, what the great sights you're going to see are. And the same thing holds true for a book. You want to know what are those main points that you're trying to make, and how are you going to illustrate them through story, through research and data, through personal anecdotes, through tips and tricks, through exercises and processes, and you lay that out. And so how I tend to do books is I lay this out, and then I start putting like parking lots of information. You know, I'm out in the world, I'm coaching someone, I'm driving my car somewhere, I'm doing something, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is how I want to illustrate this point, or oh, that's a great story that I need to include in my book. So I keep parking those things in that space for my chapters. And I'm a very organized writer, so I have, like, in Microsoft Word, I have a folder for each chapter, and then I have smaller pieces because, like, oh yeah, let me just sit down and write a 200-page book. How's that going to happen? But it's a collection of smaller elements. So it's little pieces that build a bigger pie, right? So all those ingredients come together. So I have, like, smaller folders and documents within each one of those folders. There are different elements of it. So I collect all the quotes I'm going to include, and I collect all the exercises I'm going to include, and they're all separate until the time comes that I have enough of the book put together that then they can all fold together. So when I was writing my dissertation, it looked the very same way, of just putting those different chapters and elements of each chapter together and scaffolding them until they finally became the actual book. And then it's about, figuring out, cover design. I have an amazing cover designer, big shout out to Kelly Ginio, and getting the cover designed and the structure and understanding how the self-publishing, because I self-publish, how the self-publishing experience goes, what kind of file format do you need, those kind of particulars, and then marketing it, getting out there and, doing podcasts or interviews like this, or, being on Facebook Lives or Facebook posts or LinkedIn or Instagram, getting in the local media, like I'm going to be in the Hartford Courant soon, and some other pieces, so that you get the word out about the thing that you worked so hard for. It's kind of like, baby announcements, right? You made this beautiful baby, and now you want the entire world to see how adorable your baby is. Well, this is my baby. So when you're writing a book, you want everybody to experience all of the hard work that you put into it for their benefit. So it's
do you have days where you what about writer's block? Like, do you have days where you just have nothing that
I wish my inner chatterer would shut up for a minute. So I would have days where I wasn't thinking about writing. Obviously, there were months and months and months after the accident that I couldn't even open the computer to think about the book. So I experienced writer's block in a very different way than I ever had before. I think for me, it always comes down to the why, which is that because I have, and I hope you have, if you're going to plan, anybody watching this, plan to write a book, a powerful why. That powerful why drives you, because it's not about you. Like, it's not about whether or not you have something to say. It's the universe, God, whoever it is, it's this power that, like, you want to get this information out. You need to send this message out. There's healing that you have to transfer to other people. And so when you get out of your own way and think it's, oh, I need to write this in the craftiest way possible. No, I just need to write. I just need to get this out. And following, your own, circadian rhythm, your own cadence of, I'm best writing first thing in the morning. I'm best writing in a certain space, like the room that I'm in right now is my favorite place to write because it just feels peaceful and creative. So sometimes it's about supporting those things and not thinking that you're going to sit down and you're going to write for 3.5 hours. You're writing down, you get a prompt, you have an idea, you have a question you want to answer, you have an idea that came to you when you were driving in your car, taking a shower, hanging out with friends, and you're like, I want to investigate that, I want to build on that. So it might just be a paragraph or 2 or 3. So you set those tiny goals in those little spaces of time and say, I'm just going to write for a half hour. I'm just going to write for an hour. But all of those little half hours add up to a much bigger piece. So it doesn't have to be, reserving an entire day to sit down and write, because then I think you are going to have writer's block because you're like, the pressure's on.
What advice do you have for any aspiring writers that you can offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously having that powerful why, like having a reason that you want to do this, setting a deadline, super important so that you have a goal. So my boyfriend said, okay, Bridget, you've said so many times you want to finish Pain Rebel, and I know it's going to suck, excuse my language, for you to get through this process with all the stuff that you have from the brain injury. But what's the date? Like, when do you want to get this out? Well, my birthday is next month. So I said, and I gave my birth date, and he said, all right, let's get this thing done. So here it is. So setting a date, having accountability partners, having people who are going to check in with you and ask you how it's going, because writing can be a very solitary, internal experience. And if you don't have people who are asking you about it and keeping you to that goal, you can just kind of pretend it's not something that you're doing. So just like with weight loss or nutrition or anything else, when you tell people that you have a goal, they're much more likely to support you and help you figure out how to get there. And with that, having accountability partners, also being real about what it is that you need. Do you need their help in editing? Do you need their help in having conversations to build ideas? Do you need to send them drafts just to, kind of get it out there and hold that accountability? But asking people how they can help you, people around you, your community, your tribe, your group, they want to help you. People like to be part of something. So let them ask for help and get that help. And then call in the experts. I don't design my own covers because I have an artistic bone in my body, but it isn't that one. So get the people on board who are good at, copy editing, who are good at, writing copy, maybe from a marketing perspective, if you're not good at that, having somebody design your cover, that sort of thing. Like, call in the experts and pace yourself. I've written books in the matter of a month or two, but most people don't do that. So, know that this is a long-term project. Set up agreements with your spouse or your children or your parents or whoever in your life that I'm going to have some times where I'm going to need to focus on writing, but I'm also going to invest some time with you. So I just need some balancing. So you don't always feel guilty for investing the time in writing. So those would be my top tips, but do it. Just if you want to write a book, write a book.
I love the idea of having an accountability partner. That's such a great idea.
It is. I mean, it helps. Like when I gained an incredible amount of weight when I had my second child, and a girlfriend of mine asked me to be in her wedding like 3 months later, and she called to ask my measurements. Now, girlfriend to girlfriend, when a woman has just had a child, you do not ask her to pull out a tape measure. That's not how that works. Right? So, but she didn't have kids yet, so I didn't kill her. But I knew that I wasn't the size I wanted to be, and weight aside, I just didn't feel my body. So I set up. My mom was my accountability partner, and she had gained some weight and had some health issues. So every week I reported out what I ate, what I did activity wise, and just having that right in front of me and right in front of her, and having someone outside of myself to hold me accountable. It's huge, Karen. Like, we all need accountability partners.
Yeah, that's great. In any avenue of life, I think that's a great idea. I love it.
We don't do this alone. That's why COVID-19 has been so hard for a lot of people. I mean, I've been working from home for 19 years, so that wasn't any different for me. But being in community and being connected to other people, we've had to strive and find ways to do that, whether it's hopping on Zoom calls with our families or writing old school letters or, calling out from our window as someone pulls by in a parade or something. Like, we have to feel connected. That's one of our core needs. And doing that through accountability partners allows you to feel connected and not alone in your goals, and also celebrate, because once you hit those goals, your accountability partners are right there cheering for you, popping the cork on the champagne, or handing you the ice cream scooper. Like, they're excited for you. So it adds energy and love and support to the process, which is, they're essential. Yeah,
for sure.
Excellent.
What about?
Go ahead.
What?
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. I sound like a question.
What about any future projects? Do you have Anything in the works right now? Or I mean,
do.
are you going to take a break, or are you on to your next project?
I park ideas, right, for things as people ask me questions and they have problems they need me to help them solve. And one of them was about friendships and how we build relationships with other people, and friendships in particular, men and women. And I find that men historically have had a harder time having, at least of our generation, of building meaningful friendships. And women have had all sorts of, I mean, I can't tell you how many of my clients come to me with their friendship dramas, that whether they've been deceived or let down, or, they find incompatibility over time, etc. So the whole subject of friendship has intrigued me. And I've had my own, struggles and joys in having friendships, both male and female. So I came up with this idea, and I drew it out of how I build my friendships now, and people have really glommed onto it, like thought that it was a really great process to go through to build intentional friendships with people. So I'm putting together a book called, what I'm calling for now, Soul Better Friends. Of having this litmus test of when you build friendships, unless they're just friendships of convenience because you happen to like to walk with them, or you have a similar interest and you want to play, I don't know, golf or something. But for the deep friendships that we invest a lot of time and energy in, asking the question, is this person, is this relationship making my soul better? And if not, how much time and energy do you really want to invest in that friendship? So looking at friendship, looking at relationships in a very, very soul growth oriented way. So be looking out for that one.
Yeah, for sure. I love that idea too.
Thank you.
And like you said, especially now during this time, during the COVID, and with all of us working remote,
right?
One of my objectives in having this interview with you is to share with all the women in this team building platform that we have at work right now, and hopefully keep us further connected and just more informed about things that really make a difference, little things that do make a difference.
And you do. And I've loved your emails, by the way, about and supporting people and looking, not failing to recognize how hard this time is, but also looking for what that one of my favorite movies of all times, Collateral Beauty, where the collateral beauty is and how you can put more in it. And I think that this time, and I cover this some in my book, is a time of grief. And that there's all these losses. Maybe some losses are physical losses, some are emotional, spiritual losses, financial losses. There's lots of loss happening. And grief comes from love that has no place to go, right? So when you miss someone and you feel that grief, it's because you have all this love that you want to share and exchange with that person, and they're not here anymore, whether by death, divorce, or, departure. And so if we can figure out ways of sending that love out, we can feel, therefore, less grief. And so what you've been doing with these emails and the support and this interview today is really a demonstration of love for the people that you work with, and a way of, in my estimation, helping them and helping you deal with the grief of this strange and as we call it, unprecedented time. So thank you for that. And thank you for this time you spent with me today. I'm so excited to be able to send you the link and share this with everybody. And a big shout out to everybody who is, struggling right now. This is going to be different. And if you want something to read, I would love for you to read one of my books, because I think that they'll make your life better, just like Karen's been making all of our lives better with her connection. So thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you too, Bridget. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we get the chance to see you sometime soon.
In person would be even better, but for now we have video, we have Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. No wonder your stock is going through the roof. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and we will catch up soon.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.